Hey,
Hey,
how are
sorry.
you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So, what's new?
Yeah, so I've just kind of been going through some of the phase one stuff, like the Jack Weston problems. I haven't gotten to the chem phys yet. It's kind of been like a really busy couple of weeks at school.
Oh,
And then just doing some Anki. And
mhm.
then um I don't know, I think maybe last time we talked about like the cars, your method, like you said you had like maybe a method that you use that you recommended students use.
Yep. So, yeah, let's do some cars. Now, if I remember correctly, for cars, you were doing um like I forgot if you completed all of like the AMC stuff or not.
Yeah, so I've done some
Oh,
of the AMC stuff. Let me think. Yeah, I've done some of the stuff. As of recently, I've just been doing some Jack Weston stuff, but I've done like a decent amount of Jack Weston also.
got it. So for the AMC stuff, have you completed, let's see. Have you completed like the AMC CARS question back volume one, volume two diagnostic tool?
Yeah, I've done it like so long ago.
Got
So I was just hoping to like yeah push it back as much as I could, so I didn't remember the questions.
got it.
So
Okay.
makes
So
sense.
yeah, let's do Jack Weston then. Um,
Okay.
what types of passages do you typically find yourself having the most trouble with?
Um, I would say it's kind of just the like really those historical. If it's like a historical one or like super literature based one that's kind of focusing on like I guess it has complex vocabulary.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Understanding it may be difficult, but I always do notice that I run out of time on this section.
Yep. So, okay, let me get a passage for you. Where were you located again?
Um, like where I live. Yeah, Texas.
Oh yeah, I think I may have asked you that before, but
Yeah. Yes.
how's the weather there?
It's actually pretty nice. It's getting like it's like it gets really hot in Texas, obviously like in the late summer, early spring. I mean early fall, but now it's starting to transition, so it's kind of nice outside.
Uh-huh. How cold does it get there?
In the winters, I say the coldest it gets, it's like 30s, but like, and Texas isn't really known to get that cold, but we have had some like really colder temperatures, like
Yeah, I
going
think,
single digits in the past couple of years.
yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
generally, it's not too bad compared to like the north and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of friends in Texas that
Okay.
talked about how I think last year or last winter there was like a little bit of snow or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. We had like a freeze over, I think like 4 or 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Um, we had like a whole thing with that. Where are you?
I'm
Looking.
New York City.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. So let's see. Okay. I'm putting a passage in the chart. I mean, in the chart, what I'm talking about in the chat. So,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I looked up history passages, and this one happened to be called history and literature. So I think it is perfect for what you just said.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Cool.
and yeah, if you can open it up and share your screen.
Yes.
What year were you in school?
My fourth year.
Senior. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, senior. Yeah.
Majors bio.
My major, no, my major is it's called healthcare studies. It's probably closer to something that's like a public health degree, if I can
Got
compare it. But yeah.
it. Okay. So let's have you scroll down a bit on the left so we can fit the entire passage uh in like one.
One. Oh, how do you?
Uh, you could just scroll down like a little bit. Um,
Oh, I see. Okay, cool.
there we go.
Okay.
So this is what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna have you read out loud slowly.
Hmm.
Well, actually, first I'm curious, how do you normally go about cars?
So usually what I do is I don't even like look at the question. I just literally start reading like regularly, and then I try and underline. As of recently, I tried and underline the most important like sentence for that paragraph that I think is like the most
Uh-huh.
main idea-ish of that paragraph, and then I just do that for each paragraph actually, and then I just go straight to the questions.
Yeah, okay. This is what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna have you read out loud slowly. After
Yeah.
each sentence,
Yeah.
I want you to tell me if this is um well, first of all, I want you to tell me what they're saying in your own words.
Hmm.
Um and then so what we're looking for in cars, and this is what makes it really different from all the other critical reading sections of other tests like SAT and all the other stuff. Because I've taken all the tests, like I've taken like the LSAT, the GRE, the GMAT,
Yeah.
of
Hmm.
course, all that stuff. Cars is much more difficult because
Okay.
there's no, the what they're testing for in cars is are arguments.
Hmm.
So an argument, other words for an argument are like assertions, claims, ideas, hypotheses, opinions, things that are not facts.
Right.
So we're going to look for what we're like going to be looking for are arguments as well as who is making the argument because a lot of times arguments will be mentioned but won't be the author's argument. So arguments, who's making the argument, and what like evidence or support is given, if any. Sometimes it's not given. Um, I'm going to be highlighting. I know you can't highlight in different colors on the test, but I'm going to do that just for instruction purposes. So
Okay.
I'm going to highlight new ideas or arguments in green. Um, evidence, if there is any, in orange. Um, I also want you to look out for contrast words, particularly when a sentence starts with a contrast word. So examples are like, but, yet, despite, however,
Okay.
because what those mean is that whatever comes before the contrast word will be different from whatever comes after. And maybe 40% of the time, what comes after the contrast word is what the author believes, but that that isn't always going to be the case. Um, and each sentence can be classified as new idea or same idea. And if it's same idea, then the type of support that could be given could be, for the most part, it'll be elaboration. So it'll be like a new
Okay.
idea, and then likely after that it'll be the same idea, elaboration.
Okay.
And what we're gonna do after each paragraph is to write out something like uh called like a map, which means that we are writing down the arguments for each paragraph. We're gonna just jot some stuff down, and
Hmm.
and then yeah, the rest you'll see as we go as we continue to move forward. So yep,
Okay.
continue. Yeah. So you can any questions so far?
I don't think so. So just like start off reading each sentence as is, and then just do you say we're gonna classify it after that sentence, or
After you read the sentence, you'll tell me what it's saying in your own words.
okay.
If you could
Okay.
scroll the way that you did before, just
Oh shoot, sorry. I also notice I do that all the time. Like I just randomly just play with the computer and just scroll around.
no, that's fine. The only reason I'm saying not to is just because what I'm
Mhm.
gonna highlight the stuff, and when we're finished, I'm gonna have you take a screenshot so you have all the
Gotcha.
highlights on a single, page.
Yeah.
Now, this is probably going to take, it might take, usually cars, like first session of cars takes longer than like an hour, which is how much you scheduled for.
I
Uh,
see. Okay.
do you think you can do longer than an hour today?
Yeah, I can if you have the time to.
Yeah, so I'm gonna send an email. So I have someone at 4:30. So
Okay.
I'm sending an email to that person seeing if we can start at 5 p.m. Eastern
Okay.
then.
Okay.
So but
Okay.
all right, yeah, you can begin.
Okay, cool. So the novel is in decline since the outbreak of World War.
So tell me about that. Tell me.
Oh shoot, okay, so short. Um,
Uh-huh.
see, there's not a lot going. I guess like maybe a novel is becoming
Oops.
unpopular, or it's just
Yeah, yeah.
unpopular, or maybe it's just like not getting viewership.
Yeah, so we could say that this is our new idea. I mean, the first sentence of the first passage will can't be the same idea because nothing comes before it.
Right. Hmm.
It's a new idea. And whenever I read a new idea in my head, as if I'm talking to the author,
Hmm.
my thoughts are, what do you mean by that? So, like the author just said, the novel is in decline. My thoughts are, what do you mean by that? And then the author should respond by elaborating.
Okay. Sorry, I'm just if you see me looking down, I'm just taking a note of it.
Oh yeah, totally. So you're okay with these being recorded, right? Because this is being recorded.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, you can review it that way.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay,
But I guess there is a delay in when I release the videos, so
okay.
it's fine. So okay. Yeah. So yeah, you can yeah. The novel's in decline. Cool. All right, continue.
Since the outbreak of World War II, the statistics of the book trade reflect the growing appetite of the public for biography, science, sociology, and history, especially contemporary history.
All right. So now
Uh,
would be same idea as the novel is in decline. That so novel in decline was the new idea. Now this sentence is same idea, elab, because it's
okay,
elaborating on the argument that the novel is in decline,
okay, yeah,
right? Because it says since, World War II, there's a growing, appetite for all of these non-novel type
okay,
types
but
of,
not,
right?
yeah, just not books. Okay.
Wait, just not what was that? Just not books?
I guess I interpret it as like there's people who want to learn more about biography, science, sociology, and history, just not, they just don't want to read, I guess, or they don't.
No, no,
What?
no.
Okay.
These are still books, right? Because it says statistics of the book trade. It's just that these are books that are not the novel.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. And then since 1964, nonfiction has outsold fiction by 2 to 1.
Mm. So now, same idea, right?
Yeah, same idea. It's just introducing like a new concept within that idea, maybe.
So now this could be evidence,
Okay.
like support, like facts will be so arguments are not facts, but facts could be used to support arguments. So
Okay.
our argument is that novels are in decline.
Hmm.
Our evidence is that in 1960 or since 1964, nonfiction outsold, fiction 2 to 1. Oh, and by the way, so just want to make sure. So the novel, do you like what is a novel?
Uh, like a fictional book, like
Okay,
a story. Yeah.
want to make sure. So okay, so you see how novel is in decline is the argument here.
Hmm.
Elaborating on the argument is that since World War II, there's a growing appetite for all of these other types of books.
Hmm.
And now the third sentence is giving us evidence. of this specific year that nonfiction's outsold fiction. And if we look even before that, biography, science, sociology, and history, those are actually nonfiction, right?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Okay. The categories concerned with reality all show greater increase in fiction. And I think that's just saying the same thing as the last sentence.
Yep. So, oops. So now we're going to write our map here, which is essentially just writing the the argument of this paragraph. So I'll start it off. So novel decline since World War II.
Are
Uh,
you?
oh, you'll see it when I finish.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So I put down. I'm not sure why my text is getting looking so big, but um, yeah. So I wrote the paragraph one. Novel is in decline since World War II. Um, but I put in parentheses 1964, just for the evidence part of nonfiction is becoming greater than fiction in terms of sales.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Should we move on to the second paragraph?
Yep.
Okay. After the two world wars, man has only grown increasingly disillusioned with himself.
All right. What are we saying here?
So I guess something about,
Is it a new idea or same idea?
I would say that's a new idea.
Yep.
Um, yeah, kind of just showing man is getting disillusioned. I don't know what that means yet, to be honest.
Which part?
Disillusioned with himself. So I assume they would like to talk about that more after saying disillusioned with himself.
Oh yeah. But were you saying that the word or anything? If
No, no, I was just saying like I don't know what that totally means yet. Like the
oh
sentence, I would assume that they're going to describe more of it if like as
yep,
I okay.
that's what you do, right? You do you see, okay, man has grown increasingly disillusioned with himself, and then you think, what do you mean by that? And
Yeah.
you lab, but I'm gonna write, after the world wars, man disillusioned.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah. The unlimited lethal power of nuclear weapons has been exacerbated by the frightening pressure of overpopulation.
okay. What are you saying here?
Maybe like an explanation of that idea, like if the
Like elaboration, you mean?
elaboration, yeah, if a disillusion has something to do with like there being disillusion because of the nuclear weapons increase.
Anything else?
Um, of overpopulation.
Good. So we have first sentence here, new idea. Since the two world wars, man is more disillusioned with himself. And
Mhm.
we think, okay, what do you mean by that? And then we have the next sentence, same idea, elab. So why could man become disillusioned? Well, we have nuclear weapons now, and we have overpopulation.
Okay. Okay. Um, let's see. And we are now faced with mounting evidence that we cannot stop despoiling our environment.
Hmm.
Despoiling our environment.
Okay. So what are we saying here?
Uh, Maybe despoiling our environment is a new idea. Like man is doing something to his environment.
Well,
But
so
maybe it's an explanation of the dissolution part or like
yeah,
weapons.
it'll be more elaborating on why man is disillusioned, right?
Yeah.
So we're saying since the two world wars, man has become disillusioned. How so? Because of nuclear weapons, overpopulation, and then, messing up our environment, right?
Yeah.
So you see how they're all elaborating on that first argument of disillusioned.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The downturn in demand for fictional literature is a consequence, I believe, of this recent history of bad news.
Okay.
So it's kind of connecting that first paragraph to it now, like maybe the, the decrease in literature is a result of, I guess, this man being delusional with himself.
Yeah, so now we have something here that we rarely see. So it says that, the downturn in fiction, aka like the novel, is a consequence of the recent history of bad news.
Hmm.
Uh Now there's something here that's very rare, and it's called an author's opinion. And an author's opinion is when an author explicitly states their opinion. So
Yeah.
here, I believe that is explicitly stating like that the author thinks that this downturn in fictional literature, like in novels, are due to this, recent, I guess I should highlight the recent part, recent history of bad news.
Okay.
Hmm? Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Overcome by doubt of human purpose and divine purpose, man doubts his capacity to be good or even to survive.
Okay.
Uh, I don't know. I guess it's get difficult to classify this because like I don't know how specific I should be with like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
uh,
whenever you're starting a passage off, it's like we don't really know where they're heading, so we don't know like should we include all of it? Should we include
yeah.
um but as you move forward, you'll be able to see like, the stuff that we write will be less because we know where we're going. But
Mhm.
yeah, I guess we're just saying, some more elaboration of how, we're disillusioned. Sure.
Mhm.
Yep, you can continue.
Literature naturally reflects the sense of self-disgust. And so that's kind of the sentence right before going more to like what the sentence I was said right before the previous one about how literature is a result of this man being disillusioned with himself. Maybe just like same idea or like an explanation or elaboration. Um, the literary world is now filled with books that distort reality.
Oh yeah, sorry. So now
Oh, okay.
we're gonna
Oh,
write
sorry,
down
sorry.
for
Yeah.
paragraph two. So what do you think we should write down for paragraph two?
Maybe that like literature is a result of man being disillusioned with himself,
Mhm.
or I guess the downturn of that, of the literature.
So I wrote, since the two world wars, man disillusioned by nukes, overpopulation, environmental damage. Fiction is down, consequence of this. AO, author's opinion, and then lit equals self-disgust.
Oh, okay. So you write down like everything. Okay.
So just because I don't know where they're gonna go
Hmm.
with it.
Okay.
Like I didn't write the thing that says human purpose, divine purpose,
Yeah.
but yeah, as we get a better idea of what they're talking about, you'll see that we'll like write less. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So then the literary world is now filled with books that distort reality.
Is this new idea, same idea?
Probably a new idea.
Okay. And what is it saying?
Uh, books now like change reality or like are representative of reality.
Are are they representative of reality or do they do something else? What is distort?
Distort, I guess, like ch change or like yeah, it kind of just change, like change the view of reality.
Yeah, in a way that's like making it what it isn't, right? It's not like making it more clear, it's like making it less clear if you distort something.
Yeah.
So, so the literary world is now filled with books that distort reality. That's our new idea. And like always, we're going to think, okay, what do you mean by that? And then they'll likely elaborate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. hmm So they are epitomized by a recent mainstream novel advertised as an engrossing treatment of more or less random adventures touching on thievery, sadism, and voyeurism. Like I'm not gonna lie, like if I was reading that real time, I would have no clue
Uh-huh.
what that meant, and I didn't know if like I should read that again or just move on.
Yeah. So we're doing everything slow
hmm
until we get to the point where you do practice tests.
hmm
So, you know, did I say this before? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Oh, I don't think I've heard that.
Okay. That's like it's like a Navy SEAL kind of saying or whatever. It's like
Uh,
train to do something, you you train to do it slowly so you can do
mhm.
it smoothly and then you can do it like fast. But if you
Okay.
start off doing it fast, it's gonna it's not gonna work. So yeah, don't worry
Okay.
about that. But here we're just saying, okay, right now, right? Uh there's tons of books that distort reality. And, what's the ELAB for that? The ELAB is that, uh, that so because it says they are epitomized. So the they is referring to what?
Um, the literary world or the books? I don't know actually.
Well,
It's in the literary world.
it says the literary world is now filled with books that distort reality. And if they were talking about the literary world, that's a singular
Okay.
thing, right? But they
Yeah.
they is a plural.
Okay. Okay.
So maybe they need books.
Yeah.
That's also plural.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
Sure.
So we're talking about the books that distort reality, right?
hmm
And they give us these kind of like quotes and, examples of these. So this could be like, thievery, sadism, voyeurism, etc.
Okay. Okay. Fiction's preferred characters are the derelicts of life in whose affair or ultimate fate is impossible to sustain interest.
Okay.
Um,
So,
Probably a, s- it's the same like a elaboration kind of.
yeah.
If fiction is impossible to sustain interest, it's like downturn of fiction, basically, like they mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so, the fiction today seems to be full of all this, distortions of reality. Uh,
hmm
and as a consequence of that, it's harder for people to maintain interest in that.
hmm
Okay.
They are anti-heroes who reflect a general sense of man as victim.
When they say they, what do they mean? What are they referring to here?
Uh, the characters.
Excellent. Good. Because it could have been fiction or it could be characters, but you notice that characters
Yeah.
plural. Good, good, good. All right.
Okay.
So these characters are anti-heroes that reflect a sense of man as a victim. Okay.
Mhm. The novelist today claims he cannot honestly create a protagonist who is a master of his fate and captain of his soul, because that image of man seems obsolete.
Okay.
S- So kind of a, I'd still say an elaboration of like how the person can't be the characters, has to do with the characters. Like they can't create a person who, I don't know what that means.
Which one?
I'm trying to figure out like what he's trying to exactly say, but it has something to do with the characters, just like
Uh-huh.
it can't something about not sustaining interest, or they're just not something about the man just being obsolete, I guess.
Wait, are you talking about but are you talking about the sentence that we just read, the novelist today, that part?
Yeah, I'm trying to like
Mhm.
elaborate it based off of the previous ones. I guess something about the protagonist can't exist or like not exist, but mm,
So this master of his fate, captain of his soul. What do you take that to mean?
um, confidence, like can't conquer, like can't execute, maybe. He doesn't have like the confidence or the
Wait, so if you were master of your fate, are you in control or not in control?
not in control, sorry.
If
Or
you're
no, you would be in control if you're the master of your fate.
so, would you be a victim?
Um, you would not be if you were a master of your fate.
Good. So we just said before this that the today's novels are about these people that have this sense of man as a victim,
Yeah.
right? And now we're saying novelists today can't create cannot create a character that is a master of his fate, one that is not a victim,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's like an elaboration of the previous sentence, or like kind of like a explanation of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if this paragraph's argument is that, today books are full of, these anti-heroes that act as victims, if you were a novelist that you want and you want to create someone who isn't a victim that, is in control of his life, it's obsolete by this point,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You don't need to know this, what I'm about to say, but Master of His Fate, Captain of His Soul comes from a poem that's like, it's probably like my top two favorite poems ever.
Yeah, I've heard it before. It's Invictus, right? Or yeah.
Yeah, William, or yeah, excellent. That it's yeah, beautiful, beautiful poem. Good job. You
Mhm.
got that reference. You're not expected to, but excellent work. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Um, that man belonged to the self-confident 19th century, whereas the 20th century find its heroes in losers.
Huh. So that man is referring to what man?
The protagonists in books.
Any type of protagonists?
What I guess I thought they were comparing protagonists to the 19th century, and then whereas the protagonists in the 20th century are losers.
So when we see things like they, that man, we're referring to like immediately prior.
That man belongs to this. So wait, so who would it be referring to? I guess I'm confused.
Oh, if it says that man,
Hmm.
it would be referring to the previous sentence.
Uh, s- oh, so the novelists?
Uh, so prior to that, we said the novelist. today can't make a protagonist who's a master of his fate because that image of man seems obsolete. That man
Oh,
belonged to the self-confident 19th century.
oh, okay, okay. So it's talking about the image of that man, the men in that
Man
last
who's the
set.
master of his fate, right?
Yeah.
Because what does obsolete mean?
Like non-existent or empty. They're just not there.
Kinda, kinda. So, um, if something's obsolete, it's no long it's too old for the time period. Like it's
Okay.
like a do you remember like CDs?
Yeah.
That's obsolete because new technology came that became better.
Okay.
So obsolete is something that so like this example of the character who's a master of his fate is obsolete. It's no longer something that we see in this time period, and that's why we're saying afterwards that that man, the man who's the master of his fate, belonged to the 19th century, but in the 20th century, they're obsolete.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
So we could say, okay, so I put down today novels have victim protagonists, 20th century, but master protagonists are obsolete, and that's, they were bigger in the 19th century.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. So then reading, which is to say writing, is the greatest gift with which man has endowed himself.
Okay.
So reading and writing, I guess are very important to put it in layman's terms.
Yep. hmm and this is a new idea then, right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, are we to spend it picking through the garbage of humanity? And I was asking a question, and it is,
It'll just be like, rhetorical question.
yeah. Its unbalanced depiction of human activity and motive is costing fiction its audience.
Huh? Okay, I'm gonna add something that I didn't put for paragraph three. The fact that it's in
Oh, I'm so sorry.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
there. Okay.
So where I wrote impossible to sustain interest. So I'm just adding losing interest.
Okay. Okay.
You'll kind of see why, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So all right, so now they're saying that this is the greatest gift, and its unbalanced depiction of human activity and motive is costing fiction its audience, right?
Hmm.
Which means that fiction is becoming less popular, right?
Yeah.
So,
And that's kind of like the same idea that they were saying earlier, like in the first paragraph.
yes.
Okay. So we don't care about these losers, and so we stop reading novels. So now from the previous paragraph, it said the heroes are the losers, so those we don't care about them anymore, and that's why we don't read the novels.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Okay, certainly the squalid, and worthless are part of the human story, just as the dregs are part of wine, but the wine is what counts.
Hmm. Yep. Okay.
So, so it looks like the human story is is what counts because they're saying that the wine is what counts. I'm assuming if you use the same analogy, the human story is important.
Uh-huh. Well, the yeah. Uh, so okay, but for this, we could say that like okay, um, I wrote no one's interested. I put an arrow to the above to reference that. No one's interested in loser pro tags, so we stop reading novels.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But as tragic as this is the state of affairs present, an opportunity for history to take literature's place as the major presenter of man's role in society.
Okay. Any special word here that I told you to look out for?
But
Yep. So whenever you see it, I want you to like acknowledge it and tell me like, okay, contrast word,
yeah,
because we know that whatever comes before the contrast word will be different from whatever comes after. And a lot of times, not always, a lot of times what comes after the contrast word could be the author's opinion. So,
okay.
but as tragic as this is, the state this state of affairs presents an opportunity for history to take literature's place as the yeah. So what are we saying here? And this is a new idea, same idea.
I would say it's a new idea because it's showing that history can replace literature.
Exactly. As a presenter of man's role in society, right?
Yeah.
Good, good. Okay.
Okay. Historians have performed this role before. So clearly history has taken place of literature before.
Yep.
Although we have no figures on readership in classical Greece and Rome, it is evident from the continuers and imitators and from later references that Herodotus, uh, Thucydides, Plutarch, Livy, and others were significant voices to their contemporaries.
Great. So what are we saying here?
Um, kind of just, mm, I don't know what they're saying, what they mean by the names, when they're continuers and imitators.
By the what?
By the names, like the Herodotus, like I'm trying to figure out what their significance is.
Oh, so what do you remember what I said about what I highlighted in orange?
Uh, so
Evidence?
yeah, okay, so it's evidence for the previous idea that this is not new, like history
Yep.
replacing literature.
Yep. Yep. So put arrow to the above that it's bad, but history can replace literature as the presenter of man in society. And it's happened before, for example, in Greece and Rome.
Okay, I see. Hmm. Historians start with a great advantage over fiction writers in that our characters being public are important. So,
New idea, same idea.
new idea.
Okay.
Um, it kind of differs now history versus fiction because I guess historical characters are important.
Excellent. Now, there's a word in here that gives us some kind of clue as to what the author might be.
A historian,
Yep. How can you tell?
because he says our characters are so he must
Excellent.
be a historian.
So I don't know if they'll ask a question on this, but you know how you've probably seen questions where they're like, okay,
Mhm.
what, you know, profession is the author of this most likely to be? Or like what type of, where would you be likely to see this passage? And the question choices will be like history, novel,
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that. So
Okay.
pretty good. Uh, Awesome. So we're saying here that, well, that history already is about looking at people who are important. So it would make sense for people to read history because novels are turning into things where people are not important and people don't care about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, but yeah. So here we're saying this new idea, history, advantage, characters are important, and same thing. What do you mean by that? We're gonna see elaboration most likely after. So yep, you can continue.
Okay. They are captains and kings, saints and fanatics, traders and explorers, thinkers and creators. So it's just saying the different people in history.
Yep. All the different types of like important people. Yep.
Mhm. They may be evil or corrupt or mad or stupid, but at least by virtue of circumstance or chance or office or character, they matter. So they're important, like how they said earlier,
Yep.
regardless of everything else. They are actors, not acted upon, and they are consequently that much more interesting.
All right. This last sentence,
Kind of different, yeah.
tell me about it.
So I guess they're important and interesting because they are actors. Uh,
Yeah. Tell me the significance of that. Actors not acted upon.
um, so maybe like because in literature, if your characters are like they're kind of acting it out, but like in history, it's actually happened before. So maybe like they're
Oh,
doing nothing of acting. I don't know, that could be way off.
so what was the reason that we wrote that novels are on the decline?
Um,
You could look at our map.
oh,
Like
yeah, this is my problem, I think. I like look at so much information, I forget the main thing. Um,
there's no real main thing yet, but
okay.
look
Was
back.
it because of like man being disillusioned?
Uh-huh. So look for what how we describe protagonists in novels. Maybe paragraph 3.
Today's novels have victim protagonists.
Victims, right?
Yeah. So
Now,
maybe hmm.
so now relate that to actors versus not acted upon.
So victims are like people that like I don't know, they like think something has happened to them. It's like they've been acted upon.
You're acted upon.
Okay.
You're the master of your own fate. You're the actor
Yeah.
rather than being acted upon, right?
Like you're controlling versus being controlled.
Yep.
Okay.
So, and we're saying that makes people that is more interesting because people don't want to read about victims.
Hmm.
So, yep.
Okay. So this is not to say that history excludes
Oh,
disco oh,
sorry.
sorry. We have to do the thing. Um,
So what can we say for this?
so I would probably say something like history is more interesting because we're the actors, whereas in literature, you are the victims are being acted upon.
Yep. So history, advantage, protagonist, important actor, not acted upon, in parentheses, victims, like in novels, ultimately means more interesting.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is not to say that history excludes despoiled and depraved, but being concerned as it is with reality and subject as it is to certain disciplines, it deals with these in proportion to the whole. I don't even know if this is a new idea.
Yeah, this is kind of like something like called like a concession. It's like the author saying like, okay, I know that, history. So it's like the author saying like, okay, I know that I said history is all about important people, but
Mhm.
that's like he's saying like, I acknowledge that history is also about the people who are, not important, but overall, it's dealt with in proportion. So it's just a concession. It's like saying, I concede, I admit that this is one way of looking at this, but ultimately it should still be this other way.
Okay. Okay. So,
Um, but yeah, if you ever have a major issue with a sentence, and I would say like, yeah, reread it once, perhaps slowly, but if it still doesn't make sense, don't reread it a third time. Just move forward because things will eventually get more clear. Uh, it's like never like in cars have I seen, someone get something wrong from like missing a single sentence or something like that. So for the
okay.
most part, you'll be able to just move on and figure it out. Yep.
Okay. Um, Historians provide a one-way screen on the past through which one can see man at one time or another, committing every horror, indecency, or idiocy that he is capable of today.
Okay.
Um, that's probably a new idea.
Okay. So we could say that um so I guess the first sentence here is just saying that history does include these victims, but it deals with that in proportion to the whole. So that's the new idea there. And then we elaborate by saying that we can see all of these, bad types of people, like uh,
Mhm.
committing, these bad things. Um, okay, continue.
But it also flashes beacon of lights along the way to tell the feet on the way. Wait, but it also flashes beacon lights along the way to the future, and it is a useful nostrum against despair. So there's that, but
Good.
um, and then it says kind of something maybe more positive connotatively about it.
Exactly, right? And you can see how and this is showing us like the word after the contrast, the stuff after the contrast word is more along the lines of what the author thinks.
Mhm.
So the author
Yeah.
is like, okay, I know that history involves all these crappy people as
Yeah.
well,
Mhm.
but ultimately it still shows us these amazing types of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. With literature lost, the task can fall to historians to tell what the human story is about. And that's just kind of a wrap up of what's arguably the main idea of the entire thing, maybe.
So paragraph 7, we could say ultimately like, okay, history includes the above, but mostly, include
Yeah.
the good ones. And lit lost, historians tell human story. So that, so now what we do
Mhm.
is, so the definition of a main idea is an argument that is present in more than one paragraph. So what we do now is we look through our map and we look for arguments that are repeated. So, for instance, paragraph 1, we said novel has been on the decline and nonfiction is becoming more more popular than fiction in sales. Paragraph 2, we say since the world wars, man is disillusioned by all these things, and that fiction is down as a consequence of this
Mhm.
disillusionment. Paragraph 3, we said that today novels have victim protagonists, um, but master protagonists were like, or novels are losing, people are losing interest in novels because they're about the victim protagonists.
Yeah.
So I would say that. And then I would say paragraph 4, no one's interested in loser protagonists, so we stop reading novels. That's a repeated idea.
Mhm.
Paragraph 5, that this is bad, but history can replace lit as the presenter of man in society. So that's what's taking its place. Paragraph 6, again, talking about how history is taking its place. And then yet again, paragraph 7, history taking its place. So,
So, sorry, quick question. So for the first one,
yep.
like, why would you not do it if it's saying the novel is in decline? I know it doesn't talk about history, but nor does paragraph 3.
Uh, Paragraph 3, we wrote that uh we didn't include the word history, sure, but we did say that the reason or we introduced the concept of the victim type of protagonist, right? And the protagonist who is a master of their fate. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah,
That's fair. Okay, I see, I see.
because paragraphs 1 and 2 only really talk about the decline of fiction or the decline of the novel, but it doesn't tell us what it's replaced by
Okay.
or replaced with. So paragraph 3, we say that it's, the opposite of this. Hey, sorry. The
Mhm.
opposite of this, what the opposite of the type of protagonist, victim protagonist is, the master protagonist. And it's the reason, like, we have less of the master protagonist. So that's the reason that people are losing interest in fiction. And we say that again in paragraph 4. And then 5, we introduce history. And history is going to be like that master protagonist from paragraph 3 because they are actors, they're not victims. And that's what makes the novel more uh, interesting.
Okay.
So for the main idea here, I usually write that underneath, but ran out of room here, so I'm just gonna write it up top. So I'm gonna write main idea could be that novels down because victim protag. History has masters um, and can more popular and can tell human story. Let's see, do this. Oh wait. Okay. Main idea. Novels are down on the decline, less popular, right? Because victim protagonist. History has masters, which are more popular, and that can replace literature in telling the human story.
Right, yeah.
So, all right, awesome. So now, why don't you take a screenshot of everything, like the passage with all the highlights, the
Okay.
map that we wrote, and the main idea?
Okay. Picture of it. Okay.
Okay, any questions so far?
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
So now what I do is I block out the passage because the number one thing I see people do wrong is that they rely too much on rereading the passage.
Oh, okay.
So if we need to go back to anything, we can go back to the map that we wrote out.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And sometimes I also cover up the answer choices. And yeah, sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. And oh, and then also there's ultimately two types of questions. There's a main idea question, which by definition, since our main idea definition is arguments in more than one paragraph, main idea question, answer should be in more than one paragraph. And then the other type of question is called a structure question, and that's where they refer to a specific paragraph.
Mhm.
Answer should be in that specific paragraph. If it's not, we eliminate it based on the term localization.
Okay. Okay.
So, um, so I'll do this just for the first time here. So, because this also gives you like a chance to like really not rush through the question, but really like understand what it's asking for and coming up with an answer. So, what is it asking here?
Right. So Herodotus and Thucydides are mentioned, or in paragraph 5 are mentioned in the passage as evidence that, and I would probably say maybe like they were the historians, and so they were the ones that were more in control, like they were the masters to show like they were the examples of the masters.
Um, so let's take a look at what we wrote for paragraph 5.
Oh, okay, I see. But bad history replaces literature.
Oh, so it just means that the arrow above
Oh, okay.
saying that no one's interested in loser protagonists, so we stop reading novels, and so we say that that's bad, that we're not reading novels because of that reason, but history can replace literature as, presenting, man in society. And then we saw this happen before, like in Greece and Rome, and with Thucydides and Herodotus and stuff. And I'll show you real quick. We see how I put Greece, Rome, Herodotus, etc. in orange.
Yeah.
That's for the oops. That's because it's evidence, and you see how they're referring to it as evidence here.
Yeah.
So we want to know, what is it evidence for, right?
I see. So it's
Huh?
uh so it's kind of evidence for no one's interested in loser, so we stop reading.
Yeah, after that.
So if it's based off the up arrows for paragraph 4, would you say like
Oh, in paragraph 5.
from paragraph 5, but it's the up arrows like to relate to paragraph 4, right? Like,
Sorry, yeah. That just saying that what we said in paragraph 4 is bad, but you know, after the but is going to be paragraph 5. Yeah.
okay. So it's just, I guess it's just showing that like
Huh?
history, like these historical characters have happened before. Like they have replaced
Uh-huh.
literature like before in Greece and Rome. Like these are the examples of the historical characters, the Herodotus and Thucydides.
So we wrote history replaces literature as, presenting man's, I guess, role in society.
Hmm.
That's the argument here.
Yeah.
So we want to look for something like that. So let's go like, okay, let's tell me about A.
Historians usually write about exciting characters. No.
Why?
It doesn't have really talk about exciting, or it's not really referencing exciting characters. Wasn't the main idea. It was more of like the whole actor kind of thing, or the whole like actor acted upon kind of thing, victim, non-victim kind of thing, not excited.
Okay. So we can see the actor thing where?
Um, oh, it's more like paragraph 6 though,
Hmm.
the victim thing.
Yep. So we can eliminate this for I don't know why I'm writing what I'm writing is all messed up. Does it show up like messed up for you too?
Yeah, it's kind of like
That's so weird. If I draw a line, it makes okay, I think it's back. So
okay.
it like makes like another line over it.
Yeah, another duplicate.
That's extremely it doesn't if I make a horizontal line or a vertical. If I make it okay, so okay. Damn it. Supposed to so okay, elimination because of localization. Okay. Um tell me about B.
So historians can objectively describe a society's past. Um, I don't know. It's not really about historians desc describing a society's
Huh?
a past.
Yep.
I don't know how to say I don't know what to say other than like I just don't think that it's not like what we talked about.
Uh-huh.
And then C, historians can help people understand themselves. Hmm, no, I don't think so. That
Why not?
oh wait, actually, that sounded like it was talked about somewhere. Well, I don't know. It's not what we talked about, but I don't know. I just have mixed feelings about that one.
All right, what about D?
And then these historians write about gods, heroes, and traitors. Yeah, that's more of what we talked about, right? I mean, I know it's just a fact, but it was like the whole point is like this has been done before in history. Is that what we agreed? Like this has been done before in history? Like history taking over?
Are you saying for D?
Or no, just like okay, so when you like cross out the answer choices, the whole point is for me to like come up with an answer, right? And then when we go through one on one, like seeing the answer choices individually, we choose the one closest to what I was thinking or what I should.
So if we have something where I can block out the answer choices, um, and then you come up with your own, then that helps because it makes you less susceptible to all of the other answer choices and you know what you're looking for. But
Okay.
from that point on, in cars, it's generally more difficult to find for an answer to just pop out at you as being right because it's more along the lines of the right answer just being least wrong. So when you're doing like, the process of elimination here, we want to see if we could eliminate choices based on the proper reason. So for this one, before we looked at the choices, we knew that in paragraph 5, we said that history replaces literature as the presenter of man in society. And that's like our main idea in which history replaces literature in telling the human story.
Yeah. So it's
So,
probably more geared towards C.
yep, because A says historians usually write about exciting characters, and they did say something like history is based on people who are important, right?
Mhm.
I also want to make sure that you don't eliminate things because of exact words that are used because 99% of the time when people do cars, they look for like they zoom through the passage, they zoom through the question, then they frantically search through the passage for
Yeah.
words that match what's in the choices. But that's why I want you to be putting things in your own words. So they might never have used the word exciting, but they did write about how people, they did write things like this. Um, Historians have an advantage in that the characters are important, right?
Mhm.
That they matter.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that could be taken to mean, the that they are exciting.
I
But
see.
that's mentioned in a different paragraph. So that's A is out because of localization. Then B, historians can objectively describe a society's past. We kind of see that in the last paragraph here. Historians provide over here a one-way screen on the past so we can see everything, whatever, objectively, right? But why would B not be the answer?
That's for the localization reason.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Then D, historians write about gods, heroes, and traitors. We have something like that here too. I mean, not maybe the gods part, but we have traitors here, heroes and stuff like that. So, but that's also in a different passage paragraph, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay. I see.
A, B, and D we could eliminate for localization, and C is the closest to what our answer is.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, should I move on to the next one or?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. What is the significance in the passage of the idea that humanity is doing a lot of damage to the environment? So, it, should I look at the answer choices or like,
You can try it without.
okay. So I think there's based off of the thing.
So this is another structure question, right?
Yeah.
But
So I think it was just saying that like it's an explanation as to why fiction is going down, like in paragraph two, like we said.
perfect.
Yeah, so it'd probably be like a
Yep. Now, B, why wouldn't it be B?
because we hadn't even talked about history until later on. This was only in the second paragraph.
So what reason is that?
That would be the localization reason.
Good, good, good. What about C?
See, it shows the return. Probably the same reason. Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
honestly it's similar.
Localization. What about D though?
Shows why readers are unhappy with literature. Um, it. I think they were unhappy because of that. It was less like they were less interested in the victimization, like in the victimization part, which that also came afterwards. Uh,
Localization, right?
yeah,
Good. But you could see how D could be a little
yeah. I see why you may want to choose it.
good, good, good. So this was a perfect example of me blocking out the choices and you coming up with your answer straight up.
Okay,
So good job. Great job.
okay. Um,
Yep.
no, based off of paragraph six, the author would most likely favor which of the following history books? So without Honestly, it's kind of hard to do without.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the common people of ancient Rome.
Oh, you know what? I think we
Well,
might.
actually, yeah, because it was the whole idea that the author was a historian, right? Like we said earlier, would probably be a historian. So it's to be something. Oh, well, they're already telling us it's history books.
So structure, right? Like structure question.
Yeah. So history. I know it's talking about the protagonist thing, and like how. I just feel like there's 100 different answers I could give. I don't know.
Well, so let's look at paragraph 6. So we wrote history has an advantage in that the protagonist is an important actor, not acted upon, right?
Yeah.
So we want to look for an answer that includes like strong, like non-victim,
Yeah. Okay.
right?
Yeah. So the common people of ancient Rome. Mhm. I feel like that's if it's a common people, it's not like a protagonist. Like it's got to be someone that's like 'cause the whole idea is like the main character, right? Like it's got to be a main character, not like an everyday person.
Yeah, like over here. Over here, we say that if we go down a bit,
Oh, scroll down.
yep, scroll down. So, okay, paragraph 6 is here, right? We're talking about, these types of people. Paragraph 7, we say that it still can include the squalid and depraved, like, but ultimately we're looking for for the ones that are more like these.
Yeah, the Captain King Saints.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so
So,
probably not that one for that reason.
yep.
Okay. History of the world in 100 objects. I don't even know what that. Like, no, it doesn't, we're not talking about things. We're talking about like characters and people. So wouldn't do that. 1776, America and Britain at war. I still don't think so, just because I'm also seeing D, the fighting emperors of Byzantium, and like that's more geared towards like the people that you underlined.
Yep. We're looking for actors, non-victim, like movers and shakers of the world. So
Yeah.
A, common people won't be those types of people that we're looking for. So A is out. B is out like completely because as you said, that's objects. We're not talking about objects anywhere. C is just America and Britain at war, but not the people specifically, right?
Yeah, it could be anyone in the war, technically. So it
Or
really.
anything. It's gonna likely be more so like things in the
Oh
war,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
cities and things, right? So if it was like 1776, George Washington versus General Cornwallis,
Yeah, those are like the important people and actors kind of thing.
yeah, good. Um, and then for D, if it said something like the like I'm thinking like the failed emperors of Byzantium or something.
Hmm.
That could be something that would make it not a good choice. But we have the fighting emperors, so
Yeah.
want that type of hero, important person. So, yep.
Okay. Oh, sorry. According to the author, history, without looking at anything, history is taking over literature. It is uh, probably more interesting, more important
Uh-huh.
than literature because of the idea that it has important actors and characters, um, and literature's victimizes its characters.
Okay.
So okay, so wow, this is tricky.
Yep.
Will be more important than literature is more interesting than literature.
So this is a main idea question now.
Yeah,
And what's our main idea?
novels are down because victim protag. Yeah,
Huh.
novels are decreasing because it victimizes the protagonist, while history is more popular to tell human story. Um,
And what about where it says has?
has masters,
Yeah.
the actor, yeah, the masters. Um, so I don't like it's I don't like A and D because it's kind of saying the same thing, right? And it wouldn't be the same. You can't choose two answer choices in the test. Um, it's full of fascinating people. It's more interesting.
B is also kind of
Yeah, B is kind of saying the same thing. Like, I don't know how specific they would get with the reasoning. Like, technically, they could t throw like important isn't the same thing as interesting. Um,
that's true. That's true.
yeah,
Because important, because you're right, actually, because interesting we talked about, right? Because that paragraph four, no one's interested in the loser protagonists. That's why novels are on the decline. So
yeah,
interesting could just mean like, if people are interested in it, people, it'll be more popular. Where whereas important and matters more is like, you know, there's no way that we can it's like there's no way for us to like verify that, right? Because who is to say that happens? Like you could say it's more interesting by saying, okay, look, these are how many history books sold, these are
hmm
how many novel or lit books sold, and if there's more history books sold, then we can say that that's more interesting to people. But more important or matters more, there's no way for us to say that.
yeah, yeah. And I think,
Mhm.
man, even between B and C, I wouldn't like really know. Like, I have equal arguments for both of why they could or couldn't be. So I'm trying to find that differentiating factor.
Yep. So this is a classic 50-50 that you want to turn into 49-51. So
Yeah.
you want to look at what is the generally speaking, that can mean like uh okay.
Can I be honest here? I think it would be like if I like
Yep.
just thinking it would be B because if we go back to the main idea, it's the whole idea that novels decrease, history takes over. Um,
But why though? Like,
because like people are more interested in seeing the actors rather than the people that are being acted upon.
yep. So we would want to include that in our answer choice, right?
Yeah.
Because if we didn't, like if it was history is more important, sorry, is more interesting than literature.
Oh, the people, that's a differentiating factor.
Yeah. And,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. And also, it isn't like history is more interesting than literature,
Yeah.
like, because it's only recently that literature has been using victim protagonists. That is the reason why literature is on the decline.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I always want to have my students be able to have more than one reason to eliminate a choice or, choose a choice.
Mhm.
So the reasons I could think of for B is that, so reason one is we're not talking about the reason why history can be more interesting, right?
Yeah.
The reason is that it has more interesting people. So we don't see that in B. Reason two, it says is more interesting than literature, but that's a general statement. But what about 19th century literature in which the protagonists were not victims? Back then,
Oh yeah, they did say that.
yeah, back then, literature probably would have been more interesting than history.
Yeah.
B is just saying history is more interesting than literature, but we know it's not literature in general, but just is more interesting than literature of the 20th century because it
Yeah.
has victim protagonists.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. That's why it'd be C.
yeah, and also because it's not making a comparison, like it's not saying it has more fascinating people than literature,
Mhm.
right? It just says is full of fascinating people. And when you have a vague kind of neutral statement like that, it's just hard to disprove,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Because we did say history is, yeah, historians start with a great advantage over fiction writers in that our characters are important. They're the actors, they matter, and are consequently that much more interesting, right? So B just says is more interesting, but the passage says it can be more interesting only as a consequence of having those types of important characters.
Okay.
Yep, that was a tricky one.
Yeah. Assume that a historian is writing a book about the American Revolutionary War. The author of the passage probably would say that the book should try to be uh, accurate, influential, entertaining, hopeful. I would say entertaining, right? It's because want the whole idea is that you want people to like, well, mm, yeah, like we like in paragraph three, we said losing interest, master protact obsolete, losing interest. So like no one's interested in loser protagonists. And like what's interesting is probably entertaining, right? Like
So,
I don't mean like I don't think they're thinking like laugh out loud funny kind of thing, but more just like
uh-huh.
maybe they are. Shoot, I don't know.
So let's see, right? Now, what's the reason that people think that the author says that people think that historic history is more popular now?
Um, sorry, say that again. What's the reason that people think that
Uh-huh.
history is more popular now?
Yep.
It's because no one's interested in the loser protagonist, so stop reading novels.
Yep.
And
And
history has like masters. Um,
so so the reason that history is becoming more popular now is because of what?
the people, the masters.
Uh-huh. So so right there we see that it's more popular because it's being written about people who are masters. not because it's written to be more entertaining, right?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, no, that's a bad answer. Yeah.
No, that was a good answer choice. That was like a really good answer choice, but this is a, you know, tough problem, tough question. I mean,
Mhm. Influential and hopeful. I don't think it's like I don't know like what to think, like what it wants me to think, and then like mm, I don't think it's accurate, right? Like it's not talking about hold on. Like you know what I'm saying? I don't know what like the mindset or like the like when they say like you have to think like the AMC, like I don't know what they want me to think right now because a lot of different thoughts running through my
yeah,
mind.
yeah.
How could they
So,
want?
so let's think, right? Now, if history is becomes more popular, right?
Hmm.
Or how about this? So paragraph one, we said nonfiction greater than fiction, right?
Hmm.
History is nonfiction, right?
Yeah,
And history happens to be about important people, right?
yeah.
So,
I guess A is the only like difference between history and literature that's fact, like that's for sure. Like history is all about facts, so it's definitely accurate, whereas literature is like
uh-huh.
probably more about made up story or like stories, kind of.
Yeah, yeah. So, it isn't the fact that historians are writing books that are more entertaining or more hopeful or more influential. It's the fact that history has that natural advantage of being about people who happen to be more important.
Okay. Yeah.
If you were writing a book about Alexander the Great, uh, the author wouldn't say, okay, make sure that you make it entertaining, right? Or make sure that
Yeah.
it's hopeful. The author would be like, the person you chose is already, you know, uh, interesting and important. So you're a historian, so just do what a historian does, which is write something that is accurate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. Which the following is true? If true, would most directly challenge the author's arguments? Um, so recent technological advancements have vastly improved the world. I'm not sure what technology has to do with anything. Readers find history books more difficult to read than fiction books.
So this is a weakener question. And what you can do is for these, you can take your argument and flip it and see what, you know, agrees with that. So,
Yeah, so readers find history books more difficult to read than fiction books. That would go, that would challenge it. Actually,
well,
that would challenge it, right? But I don't know if it's difficult. I
did
don't
the,
know if it's difficult necessarily, as in like complexity of the books. Like that's not what they meant in the.
did the author ever make an argument about like the difference being like how difficult it is to read a fiction book compared to a history book?
Well, I don't think so. Did I miss that?
No, they didn't say that, right?
Okay, yeah.
So what can we do, right? So we can take our main idea and flip it. So our main idea we said was because of the victim protagonists that novels are down, and because of the master protagonists, history is up, right?
Mhm.
So if we flip that, what can we write?
You say like novels are taking over history because it has more um, masters and more than whereas history has more of like people being acted upon or victims.
Yep,
Yeah,
what I wrote here, right?
yeah.
So now let's take a look.
The most popular history books focus on how normal people lived in the past, and so that doesn't sound right because it wasn't about normal people, right? It was about the master, or like the yeah. I think it would be C, right?
Uh-huh. Because our entire main idea was that history books are popular because it's about awesome people.
Yeah, like the saints and the
Yep.
about something like the kings or whatever they mentioned before.
But you see how we did that? We did because it's hard. Challenge questions is so hard because like it's so easy to forget. So that's why I think the good strategy could be take your our actual argument, flip it, and then look for what agrees with that.
Okay, okay. So you should kind of try and answer those challenge questions before even like reading the answer choice, or at least know like what the main argument is. Try and flip it
Uh-huh.
and then go to the answer choices to
Uh-huh.
see. Okay.
Yep, yep. So I think that's it for this one. So how do you feel about this strategy?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. In terms of like what I should be practicing with in the future, like do I do actually that much highlighting and that much um that much highlighting and that much note taking because or do I time myself? Like how would you recommend that I go in the future about this or the steps that I do in the future?
So do it exactly the way that we did it here. Like you don't have to worry about the highlights because that's kind of hard to teach. That'll take some time,
Mhm.
but I want you to be able to like basically read like sentence by sentence and like in your head kind of actively read and be like, okay, this is saying like this is a new idea. This is the same idea elab. This is, evidence. This is a contrast word. This is an author's opinion. And I want you to be writing the map, which is what we wrote on the side over here. And when you do you do the map, paragraph by paragraph. Once you're finished with the last paragraph, you look for repeated arguments, and then that lets you know what your main idea is. Then you write what your main idea is, and then block out the passage and try answering the questions without going back to the passage. If you need to go back to something, you can go back to the map that we wrote. And
Okay.
this will be how you're going to do cars. Once we get to the point, where we're taking practice tests, phase two and phase three, all of the timing, speed issues will autocorrect, but you want to do it right the first time so you can like kind of, it's like riding like, if you didn't have training wheels and you got on a bike and you tried to ride that way, you're gonna fall a lot. It's not gonna be very efficient way to
Mhm.
learn. So you have training wheels so you can get used to that, and then you can not have the training wheels anymore. So this is
Yeah.
the example of the training wheels. So you're going to write out the map and everything like that. And the more practice you do that you do, the more this stuff becomes internalized in your head. And you can like get to the point where, you know, like, because we're so far we're thinking about what we write and then we write it. And as you practice that, you'll get to the point where you'll think about what to write. And by the time you get to writing it, it's like you already organized that thought in your head. But yeah, we're placing a much higher importance on reading the passage. So that should take up more time than the questions. So instead of going through the passage quickly, reading the questions, and then rereading the passage, which is what a lot of people do,
Mhm.
because they think that that saves time, that ultimately takes more time because you have to reread, and it
Yeah.
at the cost of accuracy because you don't get a cohesive understanding of the passage. It's going to be disjointed. So the way that we did it here, I don't know if this is how it is with Cars for You normally, but it's a cohesive whole, right? Like we understood it like in such a way that we were able to very, come up with a very simple main idea. It's
Yeah.
not a bunch of disjointed paragraphs, right?
Right.
That's what you want. So, we're doing accuracy now. So yeah, I would say to practice it this way, practice, writing the map. And when we meet in the future, like, of course we're going to do other stuff other than cars, but if you wanted to do something with cars, something that we can do that I do with my students is like, okay, like let's say you find a cars passage that you did, but you found really difficult or it doesn't make sense. We
Mhm.
can go over it together, write our map together, and then compare the map that we write to the map that you wrote, and also compare the main idea uh, with what you wrote. So I'm going to clear this. So for Jock Weston, if you hit the solution button
Uh,
up here,
yeah.
all the way on the bottom, see it says passage main idea.
Yeah.
So this is what you can use to check if your main idea is lining up with what they say the main idea is.
Okay.
So with enough practice, so like I'll give you an example. So like with one of my other students that I met with yesterday, um, we had been working on cars for maybe like 4 weeks or so. Uh,
hmm
and we did the same thing where we went over passages that she had trouble with, and um, we compared the maps. And initially, I saw that the maps were like too much of like a summary, but you want less of a summary, more of like a definitive stance, like in art of the argument in that paragraph. And yesterday we did that like maybe for like yeah for like 4 weeks, and then yesterday we went over one, and her map was perfect. And you'll get better at figuring out what how to write the maps and everything like that. But yeah, so I would say to practice this way, and um and you should see an increase in your accuracy.
Okay.
And don't worry about timing until that's going to be once we do all of those, because we're going to do like I think we scheduled for you like a good amount of practice tests.
Yeah. Because it's not until March 21st.
Yeah, it's so I think we have you scheduled to do 5 blueprint tests, and then
hmm
like one AMC one. And we'll probably even fit in even like some more passages, and I mean some more full length tests, but
Yeah.
that stuff, don't worry about timing right now. Worry right now about accuracy, whatever it takes to get the right answers. So yeah. So
Okay.
strategy, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. So let's see. Okay. We have 1.75 hour. It should be 132.
Okay. 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 An hour and 32.
Oh no, it's an hour 45. So it's
Oh, okay. Okay.
132 is the dollar amount.
Okay. Okay. Oh, gotcha. 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 Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Yep.
Okay. Um, all right. I'll plan on filling out the Calendly and I'll see you then whenever's next.
Uh, oh, okay. So you're gonna make an appointment with Calendly?
Yeah. Or
Okay.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I'll probably have to do that. Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. I'll probably do it on the Calendly.
Okay. Because if you want, I can put you in manually, but up to you.
Yeah, let me take a look at my schedule. I just want to make sure that it still works.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. All right, you could use the Calendly. So awesome. So yeah, practice this, and you've been doing the Jack Weston content diagnostic. You just have to do the CP one, I guess, right?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. And I see that you're updating the schedule, so that's good. And awesome. So I will see you probably sometime next week. And good job today. You did a good job. You really understood it, everything, and putting up words. And yeah, good luck.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your weekend.
Yep, you too. Take care.